Okay. All right, Commissioners, I'd like to call a meeting to order, Government Ops meeting. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Curabelli, supported by Drolette. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, great. Motion passes to adopt the agenda. Item 4, public participation. Anyone from the public wish to address this body? Seeing no one from the public, we'll go on to item number 5A, appointment interviews. Friend of the Court Citizen Advisory Committee, we have 2 vacancies, Wendi Johnson and Perry Simmons. Is Wendi Johnson here? You're here. Hi, Wendi. If you want to come up to the podium here. Yeah, you could turn the microphone on too. It's a little button there right in the middle.
Okay, is that it?
And yes, welcome. Thank you for coming here today on the snowy Monday. And you are, this would be your first term running for this, right?
No, this is actually a reappointment.
For reappointment.
So this
I
would
did
be
not
my second
know that
term.
you were already on there. Okay. If you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience on the board, and why you're running for reappointment, that would be great.
Sure. I'm Wendi Johnson. I'm an assistant professor in criminal justice at Oakland University. My research agenda actually focuses on families specifically, so that was part of what generated my initial interest in participating on the board. So I've been working with them now. Has it been 2 years? 2 years now that we've been working on this. It's been a very rewarding and informing process. And so I just really look forward to continuing to work with my fellow board members and to be of service to Macomb County, which has been my home for most of my, well, all of my adult life and most of my life. So. Wonderful,
wonderful. Any questions for Wendi, Commissioners? Any questions? Commissioner Tocco?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your interest in this board. Can you just give us an idea of what your board does?
Sure. So what we do is if somebody who has come through the friend of the court has some sort of issue with the way they've been treated, we don't sit there and deal with the legal issues. If they're not happy with the legal outcome of their case, then they have to go through the typical appeal process of having that addressed. But if for some reason they've had a problem with the process itself in terms of, do they feel that people were treating them rudely? Did they feel like things weren't happening from a communication standpoint? Things of that sort. Then if they file a grievance, that goes to Tom Blome, who's the director of Friend of the Court, and then he addresses that. And so then what they do is they take a random sample of those grievances that we on the board examine to make sure that Mr. Blome has followed up in an appropriate way. And so and there have been a couple of instances where we have had issues that have come up where we've made recommendations for how we feel that the process could be improved upon. And so if those kinds of issues arise, then we do make those recommendations.
Okay, and then do you follow back up on that, or does it just go to Mr. Blome and that's the end of it? Or?
Most of the time it probably does. He'll come back into the room after we've made our decisions. If we have follow-up questions for him, we talk to him about that. So, if most of the time he's been able to sort of address our issues and concerns. If we feel that there needs to be additional follow-up, that might happen at our next meeting.
Okay. And have you seen an increase or a decrease in requests or grievances since the move from the circuit court building over to the new location? Has that affected what you do at all?
It hasn't affected what we do at all. It's hard for me to sit there and say whether or not we've seen an increase or a decrease because we're generally just getting a random sample of it. So I'm not sure what the full number of grievances are that have been coming in, but I think that's a good question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Carabelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for serving. My question, just to piggyback a little bit on the previous commissioner, what percent, how do I want to word this? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. How many grievances do you think in the last year that you've had to opine on?
So we meet, we have a total of 6 meetings over the course of the year. And so the number of grievances that we review depends on how many have come in since the last time that we've met. Sometimes we look at all of the grievances that have come in because there have been very few that have actually come in. So if that's the case, if only 2 or 3 have come in, we'll look at just those 2 or 3. There have been times where we've reviewed as many as 5 or 6 grievances. Part of that is because if there is any grievance that suggests that there's been any kind of bias, so whether it's a gender bias or a racial bias that's taken place, we automatically review that. So we might, if we have like say 2 of those kinds of grievances, and then we'd have our usual random selection of grievances, that is what would help sort of explain why we get that bump up.
Okay, and then you advise, I'm sorry, and then after you deliberate, you're advising who of the outcome of it?
We explain that to Mr. Bloom. We'll bring him in, we talk with him, we give him the outcome of our discussion, but then also at the end of the year, there is a year-end report that gets submitted, I believe, to this body here.
Correct.
Okay.
And is that after the first of the year that'll be done, or?
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, thank you for coming here today, and the
thank you.
vote on this will be full board this Thursday night, 7 o'clock.
Okay, great,
Just to let
thank
you
you.
know. Thank you. Next, we have Perry Simmons. Welcome, Perry. You are a resident of East Point. Thanks for coming here today. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself. You currently serve on the board as well?
Yes, that is correct. I'm currently a member of the board as well for the last 2 years. I live in East Point, born and raised in Macomb County, basically. I'm branch manager at Extra Credit Union. I've worked there for 17 years in customer service, so it's important for me. For the front of the court, I serve on that as in the capacity of a non-custodial parent, and joined a couple years ago because of some issues I was having with the front of the court. Luckily, I haven't had any direct dealings with them over the last couple years, so it's been good. But there's been a lot of improvements we've seen with customer service discussions between Mr. Bloom and ourselves, and recommendations. To kind of piggyback on what Wendi said, some other things that we do is Mr. Bloom will bring us some ideas he has and run them by us to see what our thoughts are on them, if they'll work, if we think it's a good suggestion to bring to the commission or to his department, and we'll give him our opinion on that and our feedback on if we feel that'll help or not, going forward to help further evolve the front of the court, basically. So.
I have a question. What? How long have you served on this?
2 years.
For 3 years?
2 years.
2 years?
2
Okay.
years, yes.
What made you want to join this group, being your experience with Friend of the Court? Can you tell us that? Anything good
Yes.
or bad that happened that made you want
Definitely.
to do this?
Yes, I joined because my ex-wife and I went through a divorce, and I had to have some direct dealings with the front of the court and a specific referee within the front of the court, and wasn't treated as I felt someone should be. I get they deal with people all day in and day out, some non-respectful people, some respectful people, but I felt they kind of treated me like I was a very uneducated, worthless kind of guy because I was a non-custodial parent. So that caused me, I found out it through Leadership Macomb about the committee being built and put in my application at that time because I wanted to see a difference. I wanted to see, fair treatment for everyone, whether you're custodial or non-custodial, because it doesn't mean you're a deadbeat dad because you're non-custodial, and that's kind of how they made you feel when you went there, at least in my opinion at the time.
So you serving the last couple of years, so you talk with these referees at Front of the Court, and
We do not.
How do you get that across to them, or you have no dealings with them?
We have no direct dealings with anyone
Okay.
else within the front of the court except for Tom,
Okay.
Mr. Bloom.
Okay.
So we deal directly with him, but he then takes that feedback back to his team. I know they've gone through customer service training now, and they've worked on that aspect of it, because I feel that was a big lacking side of the front of the court, was the customer service side. And I get it, it's a huge department, a huge caseload they all have, and stressful job. But they're working on that side of the front of the court more so as the customer service side, and that's the important.
Wonderful.
Helping people, so.
Thank you very much for helping out and your service. Any questions, Commissioner Drollet?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for your service. I'm curious as to whether or not you believe the board has made a difference in certain cases.
Not necessarily in cases, but I feel it has made a difference in the way certain people are being treated by the front of the court. We don't have a direct impact on a ruling by the referees, but we do on maybe how they're talking to the people in front of them and how they're being handled. And I think it's kind of almost like the Big Brother effect too, because they know that we're reviewing these grievances now. It's not just going on deaf ears if someone complains about things that may be happening. So.
Okay, so you think just the existence of the board has improved the way customers, I guess, are treated then?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano.
Thank you. Just one question. Are you allowed to sit in these meetings with the parents and the referee or whoever it was?
No, we're not.
Okay.
We just see
That's my
the
question. Okay.
grievance on the end. So.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners? Seeing none, again, thank you for your service, and the final vote on this will take place this Thursday, 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Item number B is Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, 3 appointments. Recommended by the Executive Office, David Skirto, Dana Camphouse Peterson, Glenn Wynn. I do not see them in the audience, so we'll go on to the Civil Service Commission. 5C, 1 vacancy, Diane Mickey McGee, and she is sick, so she's unable to make it here today. So with that, we'll have to go on to item 6, closed session, to discuss pending litigation with John Shapka, our Corp Counsel. We do need a motion for that. Moved by Drollet, supported by Commissioner Brown. Please vote. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Commissioners, we're back into open session. Make sure you click on 7A. Department recommendation request for outside counsel, Sam Bernstein Law Firm and Weitz and Luxenberg Law Firm, civil litigation with Opiod Narcotics Distributors. Is there any questions, comments, motions at all? Okay. Okay, any other questions, comments, motions? Seeing none, the item dies for lack of support. Okay, we'll now go on to the next item, which is 7B, meeting schedule. I believe we need a motion to forward this to the Finance Committee, to the full board. So we do need a motion on that. Moved by Commissioner Kraft, supported by Commissioner Romano. Any questions on the meeting schedule? Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Oh, I do have some conflicts. We were given this last week, and I talked to Patty the day we were given this, and I thought there might be revisions, but there weren't any. I'm going to accept that because I didn't get mine in sooner than that. But one of the meetings I chair, I won't be present. Thank you.
Which one
is it? It's end of the ones at the end of May, the last week of May.
I got a couple meetings too that I won't be able to make.
I'm accepting it. I just I don't think we recognized how quick the timeline was, because I did say I told Bob on Monday that or like Monday or Tuesday that by Friday I would get hers, and the calendar was in front of us before Friday. So.
So you're talking about the 30th and 31st?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'll make a motion to forward this to full board. In a second, I'd like to put a caveat in there.
Sure, it's been moved in support by Drollet.
With caveat. The caveat is May 30th and 31st, the finance and the full board.
Yep.
We'd like for the Chair Smith and staff to take a look at that to see if it could possibly be moved to the week prior,
23rd and 24th?
if possible.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody goes to the Mackinac Policy Conference, but it's also that week, so.
Right, okay.
And to be honest with you, the Chair and everybody, yes, how are you gonna? No, is that the Chamber of Commerce? The
Yes.
Chamber meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, so how do you plan, the chair and some commissioners won't be to that?
Right,
So
right.
that we probably won't work.
Okay. So motion is to approve this calendar with those two caveats for those two dates to get them
Reconsider.
to be considered. Okay.
Of course, the schedule can be amended anytime.
Okay, so no objection with that. Any other questions on the meeting schedule? No. No, sorry about that. That won't work. Okay, seeing no other questions, that we'll have to vote on the meeting schedule. Mike? Motion passes. Go on to 8A, proclamations, A and B. Do we need a motion for that, proclamations? We do? Okay, moved by Kraft, supported by Caravelli. Please vote on the two proclamations. Okay, and item number 9, new business commissioners. Any new business, Commissioner Duje?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't know what we have to do. We have no public participation today. But the question that I have is, do we have to have visual for public participation? Do we have to have whoever's talking at public participation on TV? It seems to me that people are coming in front of us to speak for public participation, more to see themselves on TV than to take care of anything. That's one, and I'd like to know what the process is to have that taken care of is one, and two, after everything's said and done, take public participation and knock it down to 3 minutes instead of 5.
Okay.
I don't know if that needs discussion, a motion, or what.
So, going back to your Eastern European roots, the dictatorship.
No, I'm tired of it.
Stalinist rule. You guys, Ukraine have been ruled too long by Stalin.
Well,
So we'd have to amend the board rules for that, so that would fall under the Rules Committee, as I understand that?
well, you know what I'm saying, and I know, and well, Don, you just look great on TV no matter what. But that being said, I think it'd be a interesting discussion about where everybody stands on that and take it into the future, because public participation is one thing, but public participation just because somebody gets dressed up is a meaningless exercise in stupidity for me. So that being said, I'd like to have that put on the Rules Committee or wherever it should go in order to have it discussed and voted on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. At the beginning of the year, we usually go through and redo our bylaws, and that didn't happen this year. Instead, our attorney made changes, and I talked to the board chair right after that occurred and told him that I very much wanted that the board as a whole collectively look at the bylaws and go over and make changes. I specifically told him the 5 minutes versus 3 minutes because you get 2 hearings of the public was one of the things I would like to see if there was board interest in. So I think we actually do need, and it is your committee, we do need to go through. I know that Marv also has some things he wants to address. We really do need to go through and redo the bylaws that we should have done at the beginning of the year.
So let's do that for January.
Yeah.
Put that on GovOps for January.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Caravelli, go ahead.
And that's great. And I'm all for doing that, but I know a lot of you are busy, including myself. And when we show up to a meeting and everybody just doesn't really look at it and put some real thought and effort into it, I think that maybe if we are gonna do that, that some separate emails out prior to these meetings before it gets scheduled to prep everybody. Here's a copy again of the bylaws. Please take a look at it if you have any concerns. Staff has gone through these with the board chair, and here's a couple items that I'd like you to take a look at. Very important that anything that's changing that's being recommended shows a red line and leave it on there, or show a line of what you're looking to change with the new wording in red, the red line of what was on there could be crossed. You know what I'm saying? So we can compare of what it is.
Please.
What we did the last time we did this was we all sat together, and if a commissioner wanted to do something, and there was a list of them, Commissioner so-and-so would like to do this. Does the board want to do that? If there weren't 7 votes, we scratched that off and went to the next one. If there were, then there was a red line, and it was put in there so that we could look at the revision and make sure that it was correct. So it was more than a one-day process.
No, agreed, but I'm saying prior to getting to it.
Yeah.
We have all the information disseminated so everybody has the time to go through it again.
All right, thank you.
Personally, myself, I don't have a problem putting these items on the agenda for discussion, given the discretion of the board. But personally, for myself, I don't mind being here a little longer. If someone wants to speak 5 minutes or 3, I can stay here a little bit longer. If they want to be on TV, that's their choice. But we're here for the public, and if you look, we don't have that many people anyways come here for public comment. So that's my 2 cents. Seeing no one else on new business, no one from the public, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.